Hey everyone, welcome back to the PFF Betting Podcast. I am your host, Kendall Valenzuela, joined with me as always, PFF Senior Data Scientist Ben Brown. And we have a packed show today. We have all these free agency moves. We're going to really be breaking how they are impacting the futures market. So let's get into it. How are you alive? This is a really crazy time for both of us, and I just need to make sure you're doing okay.
Yeah, I feel much worse
alive?
for you. This is it's definitely not necessarily a huge ramp up period. I mean, obviously I get somewhat involved with free agency and those sorts of things, but I like to leave our experts to do their jobs well. So I'm more of a fantasy and betting guy. So at least from a content perspective, it is my slower time of year. But yeah, we are definitely prepping for some development work to happen this off season so that we can have a lot of betting tools and fantasy tools and those sorts of things in place for 2022. So that's been my main grind here over the last couple of weeks. But I definitely feel for you. I know you've got long nights, lots of tweets, lots of Instagrams coming and going. Basically, I'm sure there's been more things prepped behind the scenes than anybody's even aware of, and things set up, and then it's just some of it just gets discarded, unfortunately, when rumors don't turn into fact, I guess. But
right, yeah, if you know a social media manager for the NFL, right, for any team,
buy him a
give him a hug, Venmo him $5, make sure they're okay, because this is my first free agency too with PFF. So it's we're doing follow us Instagram, Twitter, follow us, because we are tracking every single bigger move, right? So it's the first day was crazy. Second day, it's been kind of slowing down, but there are still so many high free agents still out there. We have our top 100 still out there, but Armstead is still out there, Jadeveon Clowney is still out there, all these guys, Bobby Wagner. So we've got a lot of meat left on that bone, but it has been a good free agency so far. I want to know what your favorite move maybe has been, or maybe most surprising so far.
I mean, at least from I would say an overall team perspective, I was not necessarily completely blindsided by Tom Brady coming back on Sunday, but it was definitely a shock. And then the fact that a lot of their free agents just kind of fell in line, right? Chris Godwin got tagged and then re-upped him for 3 years. Ryan Jensen is back, Carlton Davis. All these guys are all of a sudden back in the fold. And I kind of expected at least some of them to potentially test the free agent market. But I think given the state of the NFC, Tom Brady was basically kind of licking his lips, hoping for, one more, maybe a couple more opportunities at actually getting through to the Super Bowl. So it definitely makes sense from his perspective. But I think overall, how that thing just kind of completely fell into place in the span of 4 days was probably the most exciting development, I would say, from a free agent perspective, in my opinion. So
that had to have been a PR move, right? Are we under the impression it was a PR? He dropped his, I was talking to our social channel, and I was like, you know what? He dropped his Brady apparel brand, right when he retired. So I'm like, I don't know what PR, what weird thing. And then you saw him with Cristiano Ronaldo 2 days before he made his decision. And, Cristiano Ronaldo asked him, he goes, "Oh, you're done, right?" And you see him go, "Ooh, I don't know." And then he just comes back, and they get core pieces. They get Jensen back. They, you said, they tagged Godwin. It's just, they're going for it again.
Right.
And so that just really impacts that whole market too, because we didn't have them, we talked about them before, and we were a little not off of them, but we were waiting to see what quarterbacks they picked up during free agency.
Right.
And now that's over.
Yeah, I mean, the NFC South obviously got a lot better. I would say they were definitely the worst division in the NFL without Tom Brady and without some of those guys in the fold. But I do think that, there was a clear drop off after the Packers and the Rams. And thankfully, we have the Buccaneers up there as well. But it definitely is, the power definitely lies in the AFC. So it definitely makes a lot of sense from my perspective for why Tom Brady came back.
The AFC is a house.
It is,
and there's just no other way around it.
I don't even know what the NFC can be classified as, but it's not anywhere close
to a house.
It's
there's nothing. It's so funny. And then Von Miller, I think that was one that I did not see coming at all yesterday, was Von Miller going to the Bills. And then they have Gabriel Davis. They just made some moves the other day, and they're going for it too. They're done. They're done getting so close and then not being able to finish the job.
Right. And I do think, Isaiah McKenzie is going to get the shot in the slot with no Cole Beasley anymore. So they re-upped re-up Isaiah McKenzie. I think that's, kind of an intriguing development from like a fantasy perspective. Obviously really dynamic player in the limited role that he had. So I like it quite a bit. I do agree with the betting market making the Bills the odds on favorite to win the Super Bowl right now. And I do think that fits in a lot of ways. And I do, I'm not betting them right now, but I definitely like them to actually get out of the AFC in this 2022 season right now. So
Finally,
the
AFC. All right. Well, let's break some divisions. We're going to go by division, right? We're going to see if you have any changes, see if you're liking anyone for their futures with all the free agency moves that's gone on. So I have to start with the AFC South for many reasons, but that reason being what the hell are the Jacksonville Jaguars doing? And not saying it's bad. I'll let you break it down, but do they have Darius Williams, Cam Robinson, Brandon Scherf, Christian Kirk deal, and then Evan Ingram, Zay Jones? They stacked it up. They just opened the floodgates when free agency started, and it hasn't really slowed down even a little bit. So what are you seeing with what they are doing, and is it changing your mind at all, even a little bit, to that division and those future odds?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would say that I was excited for Jacksonville probably before free agency in a lot of ways. Obviously the AFC South is going to be down quite a bit, right? Worst division of football it's looking like now, given the Brady news. But so I was excited. They had, by far the most cap space in the NFL, could make a lot of moves, number one overall pick. So I thought they could get a lot better. And seeing who they decided to focus on, I am probably more perplexed and less excited about them than I was heading into free agency. The Christian Kirk deal seems like it sent like a ripple effect through the wide receiver free agent in the market. And I think they signed him for what they probably could have gotten Allen Robinson around for or something like that. So it seems like they overpaid for mid-tier options that I'm not quite sure why they did that, right? Like Zay Jones, Christian Kirk. Okay, I would probably rather have DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault in those roles than those guys. So I'm perplexed by that. The one move I do like, I think Darius Williams is a pretty good signing at that price. And I do think Brandon Scherf, solidifying the offensive line does make some sense. But outside of that, yeah, it's looking like they're going to go Aiden Hutchinson first overall in the NFL draft. And, that kind of hurts some of our draft prop futures. But I think overall, I'm definitely probably more down on the Jaguars heading into 2022 than I was even last week at this time, I guess.
You didn't like Christian Kirk's 4-year, 72
million, like 18 million per year or something. It's crazy. I mean, it is honestly crazy,
it was crazy because when that came out, we genuinely thought it was a typo, right? Because Schefter puts it out because they originally put it out and it's 80, because he has up to 84 million with incentives. And we're like, there's no way that if that would have made him a top 3 paid wide receiver in the league. But then you watch and you do it has had a ripple effect because you can tell like A-Rob is still out there. Devontae Adams is in a weird spot because Christian Kirk is a good wide receiver that could become great. But that's like a lot of teams are angry with Jacksonville, right? For destroying the wide receiver market. And that's probably why we haven't seen much movement as of late. There are other things like, Deshaun Watson is figuring out his stuff right now. And there's a lot of other things going on, but that has to be a huge reason why we haven't seen that much movement on that those offensive high tier guys.
Yeah. I mean, definitely like Odell Beckham Jr. is still out on the market, of course, as well. So it's like, Jarvis Landry gets cut. I mean, like you said, I think Christian Kirk maybe could turn into great, but it's just, he's so far away from that right now that the amount of money they threw at him just seems kind of insane. From my perspective, I would much rather have a guy like Allen Robinson. I would have, even like DJ Chark's deal with Detroit was like for 1 year, $7 million. I want to say it was between 6 and 8. I can't even think of the exact number off the top of my head, but I think DJ Chark is a legitimate receiver when he's healthy and available. So the fact that they, signed Kirk for 10 million more per year and gave him 4 years, it's just, it's perplexing. It's frustrating. And then the Zay Jones, situations kind of compounds it as well. So I don't know. They had a ton of money. I wish they would have spent it a little bit more carefully, I guess. And then I think they would have been a team that could have actually been really excited in 2022, but we'll see. It still depends on Trevor Lawrence. The division is wide open, but given their current price and how trendy they were before, it's probably a spot where I'm, avoiding still at this point.
Yeah. So. Yeah, AFC South division, Tennessee Titans plus 100, which actually that was kind of crazy too, because, the market's moving so fast. Colts plus 140, the Jaguars plus 750, and then Houston Texans plus 2,200. So, I mean, the Titans, they center Ben Jones for 2 years, 14 million. And then they released Julio Jones.
Right.
So I feel like with this division, you're still kind of on the Tennessee Titans unless you see something different come out from the Colts.
Yeah. I mean, I would really like to see the Colts quarterback situation get resolved, right? I mean, if they end up with somebody that, it's not going to be Kirk Cousins anymore. I do think they definitely win this division with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, but that's not going to happen. I do think, a guy like Matt Ryan in this particular offense would also be the spot that I would definitely gravitate towards as well. So if Matt Baker Ryan, Mayfield? I mean, I think he's probably like, I would probably rather lean toward Baker Mayfield than Jimmy Garoppolo. I've never been a Garoppolo guy, I guess, but if they got Matt Ryan, I would actually be pretty excited about the Colts at plus 140 to win this division this year. So that's kind of where I'm at. I could maybe get on board with Baker, but I think the Matt Ryan signing there would be, or trade there would be pretty intriguing from my perspective. So
yeah. All right.
Because then you know Julio's coming too, right? I mean, he's
no, you're right. So. You're right. It's it's a weird division. The Jacksonville Jaguars didn't do themselves any favors either, because we were ready. It was a trendy pick like a week ago. I think Eric Eager was talking about it too, and now they've totally blown it up. Someone on Twitter was like, "It's my favorite pastime, like watching the Jacksonville Jaguars spend so much money on the wrong guys." It always makes me laugh. Let's do NFC South then, because we touched on it a little earlier, but Tom Brady, obviously he said he's returning, and then they stacked up again, right? Ben, Chris Godwin 1 year, 19 million on the franchise tag, Ryan Jensen, Carlton Davis, Russell Gage 2, he got 3 years, 30 million, 20 fully guaranteed. So Tampa Bay, I mean, minus 190 as of yesterday, but this division is interesting. And this is where we can start to think a little bit, because there have been rumors, and it hasn't happened yet as we're recording this podcast, but Deshaun Watson. And we kind of have to talk about him, because all the teams that he has said that he wants to go to, and the two teams that they're deciding between, are the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons right now. Yeah. And there's been some, subtle tweets from Pitts, because they have the same agent, and he's like, "Oh, the Falcons are about to get wild," and things like that. So we can speculate all we want, but it is interesting. Tampa Bay minus 190 to win the NFC South, New Orleans Saints plus 250, Carolina Panthers plus 350, and then the Falcons are sitting there at plus 700. Right. So it's a guessing game, of course, but where could you see these odds move? I mean, we're probably going to get an answer while we're not recording this podcast, probably within today. It's something's going to come down really fast. So what are you looking at with the NFC South, and how are you going about this news, and how you're kind of going to start betting it once he does pick his destination?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it seems like the Saints, and to a lesser extent the Panthers, are both at least have some expectation of Deshaun Watson baked into their current price right now. So and it doesn't seem to be the same setup with the Atlanta Falcons for some reason, but to me they kind of look like the front runners to land Deshaun Watson, given, just the information that we've received in the last 24 hours or whatever. I know the Saints met with him twice now, but it does seem like if the Falcons can make it happen, that apparently is where he wants to be, going home, all these other things. So I do think that, given, we don't know the situation with his suspension, how long he's going to be out for, he definitely, is going to get suspended. It just depends on how long they actually do suspend him for. But, they're, it's unfortunate to say, but whatever team lands him in the NFC South is very much in the hunt to win the division, I would say, when it's all said and done, given the talent that is on the field with him at quarterback. It's just, he's obviously graded out really well from a PFF perspective. So Falcons don't have a ton of weapons around him outside of Kyle Pitts, but I think at plus 700, that would be the spot I would gravitate toward and probably take a flyer on right now for sure. So.
Got it. Did you put anything different down with the Bucs news? Like any Tom Brady MVP? I know you don't usually do those, but it was, once it came back, you're like, surprising. They're going for it again.
Yeah. I mean, I did have some, when the news first came out, some offshore books that Eric and I have, there were some delayed odds on that. So we did get some decent, division odds with Tampa Bay where they were previously priced at. So I think, basically sticking with that for the time being, but I think the Bucs might be better than they were here in 2021. So I don't mind them as potentially getting out of this conference and winning the championships, or winning the conference championship, getting to the Super Bowl, and then we'll see what happens there. So I like them more than I like the Rams right now. And I do think that they should be ahead of the Packers as well. So I'd probably be buying into them in the conference championship market more than anything. I do think that's probably a pretty decent lay on them right now. So
perfect. I have to, they're trendy, but we have to talk about them, and that's the stacked AFC West. I feel like Russell Wilson broke my heart, went to the Denver Broncos, and then everyone just said, you know what, we have to make a move because of this, and then they all want to compete against the Chiefs. I know you and Eric have said they're not trending down, right? The Kansas City Chiefs, but they have been in the last couple of years, they have been trending in that direction, not down necessarily, but not at the level that they were performing once before. And I feel like these teams see that and they recognize that. So you've got JC Jackson with the Chargers, Khalil Mack, Chandler Jones just got a deal with the Raiders, and then Randy Gregory to the Broncos. So how are you looking at this division? It's really wide open right now too. Kansas City Chiefs plus 150, Denver Broncos plus 200, Chargers plus 275, Las Vegas Raiders plus 1,000. I think I'm surprised at where the Broncos are. I know they got Russell Wilson and things like that, but when I look at the Chargers, it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't make sense. And I know Eric has said the same thing. So I want to get your perspective on what's going on in that division.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, it's either the Chiefs or the Chargers are the team that you should bet right now. The Chargers have moved quite a bit as well. I think they were at, plus 400 on Caesars even last week when, around the time that the Khalil Mack trade was officially announced. That was kind of like the lagging book in their futures market. So I do have some Chargers at plus 400, plus 275 is a little bit short of a price, I would say right now. So I probably don't really want to get involved there. But I'd be leaning more towards the Chiefs. I do think it is pretty tall order to ask the Denver Broncos to not only compete, but win the best division in football with a new head coach, with a new offense coordinator, with a new defense coordinator, with, new quarterback, all these other things. So a lot of moving parts. And if they kind of start off a little bit slow in a division that does have some really strong pass rushers now, and, that's kind of been Russell Wilson's Achilles heel. I do think that, that's going to be probably a little bit of a spot where they're definitely overvalued. So I'm still on board with the Chiefs at, plus 150. I do think that is probably the correct buying opportunity, but the Chargers look like legitimate contenders and are doing absolutely everything right, I would say, from an analytics perspective to set up, this Justin Herbert rookie contract situation as best as they possibly can and try to maximize that window. And that's, exactly what we kind of want to see from these teams, and they're actually doing it. So it's hard not to at least want to back them and also hope that they are successful and kind of playing into the way that, PFF or analytics would hopefully try and build a team. So I like the Chargers, probably still betting the Chiefs a little bit as well, but I can't touch the Broncos, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. The AFC West is going to be so fun to watch.
So fun.
It is. I'm actually really excited about that because the Broncos obviously slid. The Las Vegas Raiders with Max. I love Max Crosby, and Chandler Jones just makes that all the more exciting. Whether they compete as much as the Chargers, Chiefs, and Broncos is too tough to tell, but that'll be a fun division. Did you see what the Seahawks put out yesterday?
Was it? I mean, I don't think I saw
the thank you. It was
one
like
of the greatest or something.
One of the greatest quarterbacks.
It's just like it's insane. It's insane.
I'm like, what is going on?
Right.
They can't. And then they put out, Pete and all their, top tier front office guys put something on. They were like, Russell, it was a thank you, but it was a backhanded thank you. They were like, Russell wanted to move on. It was obvious Russell didn't want to be here. And I'm sitting here like, stop. You look so bad. They do look really bad.
It's so bad. And the whole thing has been like so cringeworthy, I would say. And, I know you're a big Russell Wilson fan. Like, I love his on-field play. He is a little bit, I would say, cringy off the field with certain things that,
you don't like Mr. Unlimited.
I don't like Mr. Unlimited. I don't like this and that, but I do honestly like looking back at it, he's pretty underappreciated from a quarterback perspective and has been his entire career. And I thought maybe that was just, the league as a whole not appreciating, but it seems like Seattle had no idea what they possibly had with him. Like, they literally struck gold drafting him in the 3rd round on that rookie deal, and then just like completely fell apart, all the things around him. So it's unfortunate, but I hope he's successful in Denver. But I do think especially this year, it's going to be pretty difficult for him.
Yeah. So. And the Broncos play the Seahawks, and I just know that's going to be his revenge
tour.
But it was crazy because now I'm a Seahawks fan, and it's super disappointing to see them put that stuff, one of the best quarterbacks we've had. And I'm like, stop, you got to stop.
Who's even, who's he?
But no one, literally no one. But it is crazy because and it all started in, now I'm going to go on a tangent here, but like things changed in 2017. Like the Athletic put a great piece out about it, but it was 2017. He had the league high 34 passing touchdowns. And then, but like Lynch then was gone, Chancellor, Averill, all that stuff. And Pete Carroll replaced Darrell Bevel with Brian Schottenheimer. Right. And then it all went to crap because they wanted to reestablish that Seahawks, like their run first identity.
Right.
And that was it, because that was the time that they should have said Russell Wilson is the pinnacle QB.
Right.
We should make this all about him. And that's what Russ wanted. And that's usually the move that you make. And then you try to reestablish that run first. And it's just impossible to do with Russell Wilson. So you get now, then you have his camp saying he doesn't want to be there and floating that information out. And then the Seahawks are like, oh, it doesn't matter, he's fine. And then you get him to go to the Broncos. And that's exactly what happens when you just don't they never made him not the center of attention. That's the wrong way to put it, but they never made that offense about him. Right. It was a weird situation.
Yeah. And it worked for them at first because he was on the rookie deal or whatever. And he could, didn't necessarily the offense didn't have to completely revolve around him. But after that second contract, and the fact that they just focused so much on the run, it was a complete disaster. And ownership all the way on down completely made the wrong decision going with, Pete Carroll and John Schneider over Russell Wilson. There's just like no way to not agree with that statement because, it's like now they're looking at it where like, are we rebuilding or not? And if we're rebuilding, like, why is Pete Carroll still here? Because he's not going to be the guy that even, sees us through this rebuild or anything, or he might not even be the guy that should be in charge of rebuild. Right. So it's just like conflicting things and no one has any idea the actual direction that they're trying to head. And it's going to be ugly, unfortunately, until they figure out it's going to be ugly for a while.
Tough.
So
it is tough. And that 2018 offense was so hard to watch, right? It was so egregious. And now I think it's more disappointing now because we see what's happening in the AFC. And, if they did everything right, they would just be on top of the world right now in the NFC because all the talent is not, or the talent is there, but it's nowhere near close to the AFC. So it's just, oh, Ben, it's so disappointing.
This was their window. This was like their window, and they just like threw it out. They just threw it out and didn't even go for it. So it is frustrating.
Sick. And now they're probably gonna draft Malik Willis. Or draft some quarterback. If Malik is there, that's who they're gonna go. Don't you think? That's gotta be the answer.
I would say, I think so, right? I mean, the worst case scenario is they draft I don't even know what Pete Carroll's going to do, to be honest with you.
They have to draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
They're not gonna run out there with Drew Lock.
Geno Smith, man, I think he's still available. That's what I said before. He looked pretty good. I think
Geno would beat Drew Lock in a quarterback.
That's the scary part. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sick.
It's all right. The Vikings re-up Kirk Cousins for another year or two or three. So it's like, we can be sick together.
I'm sorry. Well, let's finish up with the last one. And it is one that we have really liked. We really like the Ravens. I still think we really do like the Ravens. They've done well in free agency. They've made some moves, but the Steelers too. The Steelers have been interesting because their free agency additions, Mitch Trubisky, Miles Jack, Mason Cole, James Daniels, Levi Wallace, I believe too. So the Cincinnati Bengals are plus 175 right now. Baltimore Ravens plus 175 as well. So we've seen that kind of change there since we talked about them a couple weeks ago. Browns plus 330 there in a tailspin with Baker. He's doing his cycle of whatever he's doing. So the media is doubting him right now. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers plus 650. It's just Baker Mayfield is so funny. Do you see his pen, like his thank you to Cleveland fans, and then they were out on the Deshaun Watson trade,
right? Like,
so now he's sitting there and he's like, damn, why did I write that?
Right? Yeah, that's apparently he wants out now more than Cleveland wants him out, but it is a disaster, unfortunately. Like, I do think like Indianapolis and Cleveland, at least Cleveland still has the quarterback, but two teams, and I would put Pittsburgh in there as well. Two teams definitely set up probably to win now outside of the quarterback situation. So I know we talked about Pittsburgh, especially probably being the team that should draft a rookie quarterback. And it sounds like, maybe they weren't completely sold on a rookie quarterback or didn't think that gave them the best opportunity to win right now. Mitchell Trubisky, they must think that he does. I'm not quite sure if I agree with that, but I do think that the move at least makes sense if you evaluate the rest of the team and realize that, they are kind of set up to win now. So I do think Trubisky maybe at least helps them with that particular window, but he's not a guy that I would ever expect to be a favorite at any sort of playoff game, especially in the AFC. So it's definitely, a low ceiling sort of outcome for Pittsburgh, which is kind of what they gravitate towards. So not a team I'm interested in buying. And I know we've talked about the Ravens. I know Eric loves the Ravens. I love the Ravens.
We love the Ravens.
And, they do make, tons of good decisions in free agency as well, right? Like we talked about it with the Chargers a little bit, but like the analytically sound teams that, continue to maximize edges, like those are the teams I want to root for. And that's what the Ravens did, especially in free agency. I do think, the Zadarius Smith signing, absolute home run, did hit on a couple other plays as well. So I think they should probably just continue to trend up. And if you buy into maybe a little bit of, big play type regression for the Cincinnati Bengals, then, the Ravens are sitting there. And if they're healthy, I think they're definitely the team to beat in the AFC North.
It's making I think we said this weeks ago though, and it's making me really happy now because we got them at a really good price a few weeks ago because it was not trending in this direction. And it was still Bengals all the way. And now you're kind of seeing that market change where they know the Bengals have addressed pretty well during free agency, that offensive line and things like that. But the Baltimore Ravens, they could be fun to watch, and I'm really excited for that future bet. So that'll be good. I don't what's the next move that's made? I need you to predict something for me here.
I mean, I really want to see where Allen Robinson lands. I don't even know why I'm like so intrigued about his situation, but I've kind of always been a closet Allen Robinson fan. Didn't think he got a fair shake in Chicago, of course. So I'm interested in seeing where he lands. And then, I know I just mentioned the Bears, but it's like, they are doing the exact opposite of what they should be doing to maximize, Justin Fields' rookie contract situation. So I think continuing to monitor them, I thought they could maybe be a sneaky option in the NFC North, but given what they've done here recently, it's just, it's kind of a dumpster fire. So I don't know. I might be changing my mind. I would like to see them do something, make a move in the right direction for really maybe making a permanent decision, but they're definitely a team I'm watching closely, I would say right now. So
who do you have? I got to ask your March Madness questions. Who do you have? You filled your brackets out, obviously.
I filled my brackets out.
Who do you got?
I got Tennessee. I thought they were like kind of this like, because I obviously don't want to pick the favorites. Don't really like picking the 1 seed because it doesn't really maximize your win probability, win expectation in, bigger brackets. So I like to go with like a 2 or 3 seed to win it. And then if they actually do win it, I would maybe win the bracket. That hasn't actually worked out for me yet in all the years that I've filled out a bracket, but I'm continuing to stick with it because I basically do no other research. The one disappointing thing I will say there is like this R package where you can simulate brackets out, and I've used it every year. And then this year, the creator of it didn't even update the data or information. So then I was completely flying blind with no model or anything for my March Madness bracket. So it's a disappointing start. We'll see what happens here. But if Tennessee loses in the first round, I might be distraught for 12 hours. So yeah.
I went chalk. I'm all Gonzaga.
Gonzaga season.
You gotta support the hometown, support Washington. My family went to Gonzaga, so I'm just at some point I'm hoping they've broken our hearts the last 3 years at least. So, just in line with Seattle sports.
So I do like Gonzaga this year as well, because that Chet Holmgren or whatever, he went to Minnehaha Academy. They were actually our biggest high school rivals. So we
really.
Yes, we played, I didn't obviously come anywhere close to playing them, but we did play Minnehaha in high school. We beat them on homecoming my senior year at their homecoming as well. So that was kind of a
court
nice
and everything.
This was football, but we stormed the field, I guess.
Stormed the field, I guess. So
we did beat them in basketball. We did beat them in basketball too, though. So that was awesome. That when I was in high school, that was right before Minnehaha got really good, and then all of a sudden they were this elite team basically, and then Chet Holmgren, 7'1" guy comes along, and it's just the best player that Minnesota's ever had, basically. So it's
awesome.
Not surprising he went to Gonzaga, but
yeah,
what are you gonna
that's
do?
true. That's true. Their house. So
awesome.
House. Well, thank you everyone so much for listening. Good luck with your bracket, everything like that. We're going to be back with you next week. We're probably going to go over some draft. There's more draft props coming out. So follow us on Twitter, follow us for everything you need. Send us a message if you have any questions, anything you want us to answer on the next podcast, and have a great weekend.